Hey everyone, welcome to watercolor month. Yeah, sadly, I haven't really been able to kind of paint as much as I would like, so I thought we'd just switch the camera on and see what happens. And yeah, so in this video, I actually want to try and create a situation in my palette that yeah, okay, first of all I want to remove these blobs of paint. Basically, I have really been thinking after I took those classes, like beginners classes in oil paint. If you haven't seen that video, check it out if it's something that sounds intriguing to you. I found it very, very interesting. So basically, I was painting, if you didn't see that video, I learned to use oil paint, and these first lessons that I took, you only use 4 shades of gray. And you kind of mix everything before you start painting. Well, not everything, but you use those 4 grays, you put down some color, and then you create these like admixtures, they call it, of all those grays to create gradients. And this is just not really about the gray, but I thought maybe I should really take my time and prepare kind of the perfect, for me obviously, there's no perfect for everyone, for every artist it's something different, color palette before I even start painting, and also create kind of mixtures that really sing to me. And yeah, so I have this big palette from Jackson's. This was my studio palette for a long time, and I think it's gorgeous. For me, I think maybe now it'll work better than it did, you know, like a year ago, because I have become kind of more specific with color and really mindful. And so I do use less colors than I did. And not because I feel it's better for me. And yeah, and this was kind of the limitation for me with this palette, because I kept like squeezing a bit more paint, and I just never had really enough space for all the paints that I needed. And my perfect red palette, it's here, and I decided a different day when I wasn't feeling like painting, so I was like, okay, I'll clean it up a little bit, and I haven't been able to put things back. Yeah, so that's that palette, the red palette, is really suitable for my style, because I can very easily change all of the pans here. So if I want to introduce new colors to my palette, it's not such a hassle. I don't have to clear a well. And in the wells, mostly I have colors that I use all the time, although that's also like these two could probably move out of the wells, and I could probably move in something like olive green instead of these. What are these? I think this one is ultramarine pink, which is a color that I love, but I tend to use just more cobalt violet. And I have here also indigo, which I used to love, but I really don't use it anymore. So it's kind of not, yeah, anything with like these wells, I think it works really well if you tend to kind of stick to a limited palette and kind of the same palettes or like the same colors. But if you like to tweak constantly your palette, which is what I do, it just becomes kind of a hassle, because either you end up squeezing like a ton of different paints into your wells, or you have to like remove paint. So for that, the red palette has been really, really fantastic. And I have found colors that, you know, I introduced as a pan and then decided they deserved their own well. And yeah, it's a great palette, but there's no arguing that ceramic is a lot nicer, luxurious, and, you know, just like aesthetically pleasing a lot more than a plastic palette. So there's no one thing that just like ticks all the boxes, at least for me. And yeah, and here the issue is that, you see, that's my problem, that I probably have to clear like a lot of these wells because I'm just not that into the colors that are in there. So it's kind of a hassle. Nothing to say about it. And I'm not the kind of person that can just like, okay, I'll just use them up, because if they're not like enjoyable to me and they don't, you know, give me the feels and all that, yeah, I'm not going to use them. So a bit of a problem, I would say. See, this is another color. This is dioxazine purple. Maybe it's imperial purple. That color does nothing for me, nothing. Now I have this tiny, tiny blob that I put here ages ago, and it's like such a hassle to get rid of it. So yeah, that's, you know, if this was in a half pan in my red palette, I could just remove it and save it for another day. Or yeah, I don't see the day that I would like this color, but maybe could save it for a different day or gift it to a friend. So yeah. And you know, I have taken these palettes to the sink a few times, and yeah, you know, you end up, I do have some cobalts here and maybe some cadmiums. I don't want that thing running into, you know, the sewers. And yeah, and then it just becomes like a huge mess, and you know, the whole bathroom is full of color. So yeah, but I think maybe I could still work with what I have here and kind of, I mean, this is good. I like Naples yellow. This I could probably work with. This I don't use very often. These are like earth tones. Don't see that happening. Here, I don't know what, yeah, I think this is the bright rose and this is quinacridone rose. Here I have wisteria and some cobalt violet. Here I have some other purples. Here are the teals. I have cobalt teal and cobalt turquoise. This, I don't know what you are. This is ultramarine blue. This is lavender. Here I have some browns. Here I'm pretty sure I have moon glow. This is again some sort of indigo. These are some greens. So ideally, I would like to create a custom mix in some of these wells. But as you can see, there's a lot of paint here. So I might have to move to this area. And I also want to try and use what I learned from the oil painting class, focusing on lights and shadows. So I might place them, you know, the lights here and the shadows here, and kind of making sure that all the shadow colors are darker than all the light colors. Now, I don't even know what I'm going to paint, probably florals at some point, but I do think I want to add white. Is there a well I can clear here for white? Maybe you. Maybe I will sacrifice you, Opera Pink. I'm talking to you because I don't know, I kind of like the Naples yellow. I could put the white somewhere out. See, this is exactly my issue with ceramic palettes. Even if you put just like a tiny blob of a color, it's so hard to then get rid of it. You're kind of stuck with it. Drives me bananas. So, what are your palette challenges? This looks like something like rhodonite. Is that what it's called? Redundite, something like that. Genuine, which is a really nice kind of natural looking pink. I'm guessing that's what it is. I don't know. I don't write things down. I can't be bothered. It's a nice color. I don't know. I can try maybe mix it with a little bit of Naples yellow. That was a mess. But I don't even know if I want to use it. Like, I still want to kind of keep things to a limited palette. Okay, so scratch that. Sorry if anyone is like cringing at my behavior here. But you have to find what works for you, and many times it is, you know, not what you've been told by other teachers, not what works for other artists. So, I don't know, what can I do? Grab like a really poor brush and try to scrub away these. Yeah, so I did want to like film this, first of all, because I do miss putting videos on YouTube, and you know, it's always like this, okay, but I have to do like 1,000 things before I actually start painting, especially if I want to go down this route of really having a completely ready to use color story. So I just decided, okay, I'm just gonna film it, chat with you, so you can really see what I'm doing and, you know, see how this thing comes together. It really annoys me to have stuff that I never use, and this beautiful palette is one of those things. Now, a lot of this is, you know, it's just you grow, you change, and the same way that your style changes, the style you paint in changes, also the products and your tools change. And, you know, it's just, and I am not the kind of person that, you know, once I move on from like a palette, I would offer it for sale and get rid of it, because I'm always thinking maybe it'll work for me again, in a way, because trends do seem to, you know, repeat themselves or kind of go in cycles. This is I'm completely digressing, but I was at a toy store with Lily the other day, and she likes to go and look at toy stores. I try not to go to toy stores with kids because I don't want to say no all the time. My kids have way too many toys, and it's just like, you know, what's the fun? I'd rather go to like a playground or something like that. But she insisted, and she said, and I told her, but we're not buying anything. You know, we just came back from vacation. You have a ton of toys. Like, we're just not buying anything. She was like, yeah, I understand. I just want to see what I can buy for my birthday. And I told her that's, you know, fine. But if they're going to be like a scene or anything, that we won't be going again. She's like, yes, I understand. She's 5, almost 6, and very sophisticated, I think, for her age. And she was like, yes, if I say I want something, I mean I want it for my birthday. So anyway, we went to the toy store. We spent so long there. I thought I was gonna, like, my head was gonna explode from all the toys. And she looked at every single aisle and examined all the toys and made a list that, I don't know, was like so long of all the stuff she wants for her birthday. And we didn't buy anything, and she was really well behaved in that part of the outing. So, yeah, but one of the things that I saw there was this like you know, it's like, it's not really rubber and it's not really slime. It's something in the middle, kind of like a sticky, soft, rubbery type of thing. And it was like a hand with a string connected to just like a handle where you can hold it. And basically you can move it around and like flip it on things and it sticks to things. And I had that toy 30 years ago, I think, probably around, you know, the age of 10, maybe a little bit younger. And I had it, we called it Handy Wendy. And I don't remember what was the name of it, you know, I mean, maybe it was called Handy Wendy, but you know, I grew up in Israel, so the language was Hebrew. I don't know what name it had in Hebrew. But yeah, it was exactly the same thing. Even the color was the same. It was green. And it just like made me laugh how, you know, with fashion, I know there are trends and everything. Ugh, right on my shirt. My shirt is pink. See, it's worth it to be consistent with your color choices. I think some is on my face. Opera pink. We don't get along. We just don't. Let's just accept it and, you know, agree to part ways. Yeah, so, you know, with fashion, it's kind of a known thing that everything comes back in style, but it's exactly the same toy. To see it after 30 years, it was kind of funny. So yeah, my point is that I do... Oh good, I love it when the camera cuts me off and I don't know what happened, when that happened. I really don't know. I guess I will only discover when I'm editing. So yeah, so my point with the story, hopefully you heard all the way about the toy that appeared again after 30 years. I wonder if toy companies have like archives and they're like, oh yeah, it's time to bring back the Handy Wendy toy. Yeah, so something like this, even though I haven't used it for really like a year, maybe even more, I don't really see myself ever getting rid of it because I love this palette and it's beautiful. And, you know, I just hope to find a way to make it work for me. So maybe now it can make, what do you call it? A comeback. But yeah, you see how much work it is just to clear one well from a little bit of paint. And on the other hand, I don't like to put a teeny tiny dab of paint that I have to like constantly refill when I'm painting. So it's really catch-22 with these palettes. And yeah, okay, so hopefully at some point this could be my white well. And because, you know, white is very, very easy to contaminate. So I really need to clean all the... I kind of also like buff titanium, but I don't really have a place for it. I would probably clear this one, but there's a lot of paint here, you know, it's actually tiny blobs. Excuse me. But it's, you know, if you try to like melt it away or something, or activate it and remove it, it's so much paint. It's so much paint. So I don't even know. That would be ideal because I don't see myself using these colors. Maybe I need to wet them. Okay, first let's try to see if there's anything that I can remove without it flying on my face. Okay. That wasn't so painful. And then there are the more sticky paints that just... Okay, that was also not horrible. And honestly, you know, I probably will toss what I just removed because I can't be bothered. Like, I can't keep everything around like teeny tiny blobs of paint. Okay. This is better than I expected, and I think the rest I can do with a brush. It's not so fun, but I think I can do it. And then I'll probably put here buff titanium. Ideally, of course, they would be here, the white and buff titanium, and then I would go probably to Naples yellow, but going to have to compromise. We're going to have to make some compromises here. But yeah, that's what I'm going to do. And then I will create a color story. So for the subject, my theory is that artists have, well, that's true for me. So it's kind of like it's a my thing. It's not a theory that necessarily applies to everyone, although I can name a few artists from the top of my head that really also, like, you know, this would be a correct theory. So my theory is that every artist has their color story. It's not always the same, but it's kind of their thing, and for many it's one of their signature, you know, cards or signature characteristics that you look at a painting and you see, oh, this is, I don't know, Jean Haynes, because of the use of color. Of course, it's always a combination of things, but color is one of those things that help you identify a particular artist. And I feel like for many, okay, so I have to go soon. But the theory is that basically you can paint any subject with your color story, especially if you follow the I don't need to paint realistic things or match colors to the colors of that object in reality, which is what I subscribe to. And yeah, so once you create that color story that really makes your heart sing and feels like you, which is harder said than, like, harder to do, actually. I feel you have to be like very, very in tune with your color sensitivities. So once you do that, you can paint whatever you want. So I'm currently thinking, because I came back from a week in Greece, I kind of feel like I want to paint the beach, but honestly, like, the colors of the beach as it is do nothing for me. Like that combination of yellow, brown, and shades of turquoise as they are, not interested at all. I do want to kind of paint it in my style, in my colors, and probably florals, let's be real. So yeah, so that's what I want to do, and I want to set up my colors and then paint whatever I want to paint. Okay, moment of truth. Which is actually bigger? I might do the white here. So the white that I'm using, I get a lot of questions about it. I use opaque white from Rembrandt. I think if you're going to use white to create, you know, more like pastel-y, creamy, opaque colors, you should go for an opaque white and not something, I think like zinc white is a little bit more transparent. So no, go for opaque white. This is the Rembrandt. Not all brands are created equal, but this one I find is really good and kind of potent. You can use gouache, but you know, gouache sometimes, depending on the brand, if you don't, the best would be to squeeze it out like fresh. But if you don't like to do that, like me, I'm kind of just like, oh, you know what I didn't think about? I didn't think about just like putting this somewhere here. I could do that. I could do that. Maybe I should do that. And then with buff titanium, don't think I have it in a pen anywhere. Actually, that's not true. I probably do have it in a pan somewhere. But yeah, I might just risky business. Squeeze a little bit here. Just a little bit. And see what happens. Okay. So yeah, I'll probably use the white here and see how it goes. It would be actually nice to clean it a little bit. But yeah. So the plan is to create my color story using my colors, colors that I love, and even create some mixtures and figure out which colors I'm going to use for the light areas. Now, with the style that I'm painting, I'm not a realistic painter. Like, I don't paint things as they are. I have a much more abstract, impressionist kind of style. But light and shadow, different values, make a painting effective and successful many, many times. So I think it's worth a try to kind of create the lighter color mixtures that I want to use here, and then the darker shadows here. So that's the plan. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed hanging out with me while I scrub paint. And yeah, let me know what is your current palette situation, and if you feel like it's working for you, it's not, if you want to make some changes. I would love to know how other people, you know, feel about their color situation. It's very possible that I'm overthinking and just like making everything complicated, but I'm starting to think that the more kind of meticulous and particular I get about the prep work and the colors, the more successful my result will be. And perhaps, even though this kind of like all this prep is, it's a bit killing my soul, let's be real, a little bit, but maybe it's worth it. So if I don't try, I won't know. As opposed to just like winging it all the time, which is what I do. I always wing it. I'm always in troubleshooting mode. So maybe a little bit prep is not a bad idea. And, you know, once you have a system, I think it's like easier to, you know, just follow it. You sit down, you start with certain things like mixing your paints. And if it is enjoyable and you kind of know what you're doing, then I don't think it becomes a hassle. On the contrary. Okay. I'll see you in a next video where we will start mixing colors. Bye, thanks for watching.